everybody, Reefgrrl here. Welcome to the Tuesday point and shoot update for October the 23rd, 2018. To start off with, I'm going to feed my fish a little bit so you can get to see some of them while I'm talking about parameters. There we go, premium flakes. Inappropriate reefer swears by them, and I will say my fish do love them. Okay, so parameters. Last night's testing of yesterday's water sample was calcium 466, magnesium 1385, nitrate was 10, which is fine in a mixed reef. This is a mixed reef, so I'm happy with that. Phosphate is good news. It finally got down to below 0.10. Yesterday's reading was 0.095, so I'm really pleased about that. And I'm going to leave things as they are, let it ride, and just see what I can accomplish there. Alkalinity. Well, alkalinity depends on whether you use the Salifert test, which I mentioned last week. I was going to get one to check because my Hanna checker seemed to be reading low. So I don't know what to think, because the Salifert test showed me an alkalinity of 8.45, whereas the Hanna checker, the result was 7.952. So that's only approximately 0.5 DKH out, but it's enough to give me some concern. I did get the Hanna calibration vials just to see how my checker was doing. So there we go. We're going to open the top, try and do it with one hand, which isn't as easy as you would think. Alright, I'm going to be editing this part. Okay, so here we have our two little vials. This one, I've already wiped them off really carefully, so we're going to put that in the checker and press the button. Okay, C2, and I'm putting the bottles in the same orientation with the little 10 ml writing on the vial at the front. So there we go. Okay, 102. So according to the instructions, the reading, in order to be acceptable, has to be somewhere between 90 and 110. And anything within that range means that the checker is accurate to within the tolerances that they specify. So according to that, it's fine. I should be able to rely on my Hanna checker to give me the correct results. Nevertheless, over the next couple of weeks, I am going to do side-by-side testing of Salifert and Hanna and just compare and see what happens. I don't really have any bad news this week. Things are continuing to improve. You can see the acros there are really coloring up. I haven't yet removed the dead ones up here, but the snails have been working on them, so I'm just going to leave them for a while. Believe it or not, this one is still alive. It does get color in the blue light. This one has one branch with a bit going on, but I'm not optimistic. These two look better. That one looks really good. This plating Montipora, which is an encrusting Montipora that's plating, is doing really well. Finally getting its bright green back. This guy down here has visible polyps now, so that's a good sign. Going down here to the red planet, yep, that branch is going to do something, so I'm going to trim the rest away. And this guy looks like he's on the verge of putting polyps out, so that's awesome. These guys are doing well. The hammer's looking good. Duncan. So you can see that things are still holding. The only thing that's really seemed to suffer is the plating Montipora, particularly the orange one that's here and the purple one there. They're hanging in there, but they're really not thriving yet. Another thing I wanted to show you was that I pulled out the hidden coral, and there it is right there. This war coral was a freebie that I got. I decided in this tank I was going to put it behind the rocks that are in front of my overflow here to see if I could get it to encrust going upwards on the overflow, but it just never worked. I tried to lean it up against it and it just kept falling down. Or snails would move it or something, I don't know. This war coral, the color is finally starting to come back. It's quite a beautiful red. Green bird's nest. The other day, it was looking positively fluffy. My frag rack still has these guys on it. That's a project. Lobophilia. It has about doubled in size since I put it in that spot. Pectinia is looking great and has really got a lot of the yellow back in the eyes. So that's pretty awesome. Oh look, there's Pamela. The Tomini Tang. She's really grown. These guys are looking good. The candy canes. I can't get over the growth on the candy canes if I'm honest. It's just crazy. That torch is looking better every day. Really pleased with that one because it was looking like it wasn't going to make it for a while there. And over here the chalice and the other chalice. Doing well. Red mushroom, Gorgonian. Okay, so the Rhodactis seems to be fighting with the purple mushroom, so I don't know who's going to win that, but the Rhodactis seems to be okay. My toadstool, I moved it out a little bit because it was really pushed into that hole. You can see the giant scoop out of the edge. And the branching Cyphastria, also doing well. The octospawns look like they're really starting to come back. They're usually out more fully, but I think all of the messing around with the sand, they're still angry about that because I cleaned up the tank earlier. And Lucy, the bubble coral, and the red frog spawn. My turbinaria is doing really well. It's really started to grow, so it must finally be happy in this spot. This is a stellata, and it's doing well. You can see the zoanthids are coming through there. My blue-eyed blondes are hanging in there against all odds and making me a little optimistic about zoanthids. I might even try and put a few more in. Which reminds me, the barnacle project. Update on the barnacle project. Well, it is not what I had hoped it would be at this point in time. I know that torch has probably been stinging these guys, so that's why they're not opening. So overall, it's a good news update, and all I can do now at this point is continue to be vigilant and try not to run into the same problems I had before. The T5 lights are on now for 2.5 hours per day, and I've been adding 10 minutes per week. So hopefully they will do the trick. George has fluffed up quite a lot in the last couple of days. Stanley's doing well. Oh yeah, anybody any idea what's up with this? I wonder if it got bitten off by a crab or something because it's just dangling there. I don't want to mess with it. So, let's look at the sump. Sump is still doing well. The little pump is still doing its thing. Chad the skimmer, I could not be happier. I emptied the skimmer cup last night after 3 weeks. I love the dry skim, and you can't believe the crud that came out of there. It was solid chunks. And I had to finally empty it because when I walked in this room, it smelled like an old house with a wet basement with a dirt floor. So it was very, very funky. As I mentioned last week, I was going to sit down with all my notes and my videos and my journal and figure out what might have happened when I worked in the sump to reorganize it, did the sump reboot, And when I was messing around with the lights, and I pretty much shocked the tank by doing crazy stupid things with lights for a couple of days. So to summarize it, in early to mid-July, I had issues with alkalinity being unstable. I think because of the inconsistency of my solution concentration. I think it was off because it was running out. I think it got really concentrated, and when I replaced it, it was different. So at the beginning of July, the alk was around 10, and it dropped to 7.5 in mid-July. So over the course of a couple of weeks, that happened. And the first evidence of problems was my torches. My torches, a couple of them kind of melted away. I lost the big one that used to be over on this side, where that tiny one is now. There was a big one, and I was really kind of upset about that. And I think that might have been due to the alk swing. At the end of July, I put the new lights in, and I gradually, over the course of 4 weeks, increased the photo period from 30 minutes to 5 hours. And things seemed to be fine. It was August 23rd, so about 3 weeks after that, when I started doing stuff in the sump. I stirred everything up when I removed the skimmer on the 23rd, and then on August the 28th, the alkalinity was 8.288, but by September 21st, it was up to 9.744. So the corals weren't consuming it, and that's when I started noticing things looked bad. In mid-September, I turned the lights off from September 16th to 17th for 36 hours, roughly. It was basically overnight in 2 days. Then I decided to take some advice that I shouldn't have, and I switched the T5s to 14 hours a day and the LED to 6 hours a day. I ran that for 4 days, and as of September 21st, the alkalinity was 9.744, and my acropora really started looking bad. So that's kind of when I realized there was a problem. But I put it down to the lights. But when I look at what I did with the sump, I wouldn't be surprised if that also shocked the corals. Now, I was not able to get access to my videos because of a download problem from iCloud, which pisses me off, but what can you do? But I checked through Instagram and found what I could, and during that period from when I shocked the tank with the lights off and switching the T5s through to the end of September was when I started really losing a lot of acropora. So I'm convinced that stirring up the sump did cause a problem, and then I made it worse by shocking the tank by changing the lighting schedule so drastically. So between those two things, I really caused a lot of problems for myself, and thankfully I was able to address the problems, and I think we're going to be back on the right track now. So thanks everybody for watching. I really do appreciate it, and we will see you next week. I never get the name right. It's an Innovative Marine 40 Nouveau Fusion Mini.